Cool. We are live, bro.
Cool, man. We're live,
Let's
man.
go.
Episode 2.
Episode 2 of
Yeah.
Talkflow with co-host. What's your name?
Shays Ahmed. Pristine
Yes.
Digital is my company. And
And
Vimalin.
yep, Vimalan. But Vimalan,
Vimalin.
Vim.
Yeah.
I've been
A
called
lot of
so
people
many
get
names, bro. I've been so many names. I don't care anymore.
Yeah. A lot
Right,
of
how are
people
you?
mispronounce my name as well. Yeah, man, I'm good, man. How is you?
I'm good. Our last episode got like 120 likes, 120 views.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, so many people watched. I don't know whether they watched towards the end, but
Yeah.
yeah. And I got a new mic as well. So hopefully it sounds better today.
Sounds a lot better, man. Definitely. So,
Cool.
whoever's in the stream, just make sure you like. Let's try to get to 10 likes at least. Come on.
Let's see who's in the
But,
stream. Like, can you like comment? We just want to see.
yeah, everyone just comment your name. Let's see. We can give you a shout out. Let's see who's watching, man.
I don't think anyone yet, but it's okay. We'll go on.
Okay,
Cool.
that's fine, bro.
So
Alright, man, let's
what we
get
talk?
started, man.
Yeah, sure. Let's. Right. So today we'll be talking about how to get started on Webflow as a beginner, as a complete beginner. What are the steps that you need to do? What workflows, what tools you need, what resources, where do you go to find help, what you should avoid. And then we'll talk about the mindset, whether you need to learn to code, and what makes a good Webflow developer. Right.
Yeah,
So do you want to get
yeah,
started
man.
with the first one? What did we do?
Yeah, what did we do to get started? Um, so how I personally learned Webflow was, I think I mentioned this in the first episode, but what I done, right, was I didn't really get into Webflow at first. I already knew how to code HTML, CSS, so I bought a course on Udemy for around, I think it was at $10, $20, very cheap. And I learned how to code HTML and CSS. And I literally just started practicing. And then when I started to practice, I just became kind of fluent in HTML and CSS. And then afterwards, I started building my own sites, hard coding them, not full sites, but, just different layouts and stuff. Start learning Flex, Grid, all of this stuff. Um, and then afterwards, that's when I found Webflow on a YouTube ad or something. It was on YouTube. And yeah, after I found Webflow, I wasn't aware of the university and all of this stuff. I wish I did do some things different. But for me personally, because I had that coding knowledge, I kind of got the hang of Webflow quite quickly. I was missing, the best practices, like, naming your classes and different, class naming structures and methods. But apart from that, man, like I did get the hang of Webflow quite quick. Like I knew layouts and Flex and Grid. And then after that, literally I just started practicing, like building out my own websites. My first full website that I built was my own agency website. And yeah, I think I mentioned this before in the first episode, but I didn't design it at all. I just started developing, and I was designing while I was developing, which is probably the worst thing you can do. And I actually, for my first few projects, I actually didn't design. I started, just
Yeah.
developing
So that's
from
why I think
scratch and then
we are
doing it.
going to talk about like
Yeah.
workflows and like what you should do. Yeah, continue. Oh, you lagged out.
Oh, sorry, man. I think you lagged out as well a bit.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's it.
I think we're good
Continue.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, as I was saying, man. Yeah, that's literally how I got started, and I feel like because I had that coding knowledge already, it was a lot easier for me to learn Webflow. But I can see if you don't have that coding knowledge, how more difficult Webflow can be. Um, and yeah, we're gonna get into that later. How what you should do beforehand and what kind of things that you should know before getting into Webflow. One of them is coding.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's how I got started. No big story or whatever. But yeah, man, I just started practicing, and that's it, man. That's how I learned, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think I'm in the same category as well. I came across to Webflow straight without design, and it's just like practice and making mistakes. And then every project you learn something, what not to do, how to structure better, or because you go from like a one page to a three page, you learn something new. In your one page you're like div 57, but then by the time in your third project you're like, oh wait, I can reuse these class names, right? And for me it took a while, and I think I learned better with practice. And every project you learn something and make sure you improve on the next project. And currently for me right now is to avoid pixels and start transitioning to RAMs and EMs
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to make the response, like, that's a bit more advanced. But yeah, so even now we are still learning and trying to improve per project. It's not once you learn and you're a pro. It's about changing and adapting to new skills and new ways to work. And that brings us to the second topic, is Webflow workflows. So
Yeah.
when we both got started, um, I don't think there were many streams. There were tutorials, of course, but I don't think even a year ago there were best practices. Um, unless you come from a developing background, but there weren't like, oh, you need to do this for your Webflow projects to make it clean or structured. Nobody spoke about that. Everyone's like, oh, you can, design to, you can build whatever you design. It's free. Don't worry about coding. Don't worry about, I've not even heard anyone say class names and structuring is important until, when you're like your fourth, fifth project, you start saying, okay, I need to structure my website for myself, just so that it
Yeah.
makes sense to me. That's why I think it's easy and it's good that we talk about it early on, that what workflows you need immediately, even as a beginner, so that you are off or to a better start than most of us did even a year ago. And I think both of us would agree
Yeah.
is learn to design on a design software like Figma or XD. I use XD and you use Figma, right? So we can discuss like what's so good about each of it, and then get into details. But yeah, so how do you use Figma, and how does design go into your workflow?
Oh, sorry, man. I think I'm lagging out.
Yeah. Oh, so I lost you again. So it's just me now.
Oh, sorry. Am I clear now? Yeah.
I don't see you moving, but
Oh,
is it yours or is it my internet? I have no idea.
some technical issues.
Yeah, my connection is fine. So I think, yeah, you're okay now. Yeah. Am I
Am I right
lagging?
now? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. But is that a lag?
Hello.
Can you
Am
hear
I
me?
good?
Yeah, but you're
Yeah,
lagging.
man. You're lagging a bit. Yeah.
Oh shit. But mine says it's like an excellent connection, so I don't know.
Oh, man, it's me, man. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, but
Can you hear
you're
me?
okay now. Yeah, yeah, okay now. Yeah,
Okay, hold out. Okay.
yeah. Don't worry, there's 0 viewers, no pressure.
Am I good now? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now you're clear.
okay.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I just switched to my different 5 gigahertz
Wi-Fi.
network, so it should be good.
Yeah, now it's much better.
Okay, we're clear now. Okay, cool, cool. All right. So,
Technical
where were
issues
we,
during
man?
a live
About
show.
workflows.
Yeah, so
Sorry
how
about
does
that, guys.
design
Yeah.
go into like your process, and how do you use Figma?
So how my workflow works is before I just used to develop in Webflow. I didn't know nothing about design or these design softwares. I thought Webflow was the all-in-one platform, but it's not. Um, so how I work in right now and is what I recommend to everyone starting out, just to save yourself a bit of time. And yeah, this is just the best thing. That this is just the best way to do things. Designing a separate platform in Figma or XD, whatever your choice is. I prefer Figma personally. Other people prefer XD. So just take a look at both, see which one you prefer. Um, and then yeah, man, I just design in Figma, and then as soon as I'm done with the design, then I develop in Webflow. And even in the design, what I do is I do a lo-fi first, which is just kind of like a wireframe. You don't really use any real content. You use placeholder content, dummy content. And then after, if this is with the client, I do the lo-fi first. If they approve of the lo-fi, then I move on to the hi-fi. So the hi-fi is basically where you add in all of the real content. Um, and then you just make sure it's exactly how you want the website to look like. And then after you've done the hi-fi, you confirm that with the client. And once that's done, then you develop in Webflow. And even with that, a lot of people make the mistake of designing the entire website first and then developing it in Webflow.
Yeah.
With certain projects, it's okay to design the entire website and then develop in Webflow, but with
Yeah.
most client projects, it's all
Yeah.
right. So what I do is I don't design, all of the pages of a website. What I do normally is I just design 3 key pages. So that could be the home. Normally, it's just a home page, about page, and one extra page, whatever it may be, and or services page, for example. And then once the client is happy with that, I tell them, okay, look, we're going to use this same design, this same layout, all of these same components, and build out the rest of the pages, like the contact page or whatever. That way, it just saves you so much time. And yeah, I found that to work so good for me, right?
Yeah.
Right now. Before I used to design the entire thing, used to
And
waste
that
so
is
much
something
time.
we
Yeah.
learn like by practicing. Again, we as you go, you start saying like, oh, is this the best use of my time? I have like other projects to do. I need to get this done ASAP. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I think my process is very similar to yours as well. But then I use XD, Adobe XD, mainly because it ties in with Photoshop really well. I can just
Hmm.
right click an image, open it in Photoshop, edit it, and save it, and it updates my XD file.
Okay.
That was like the main reason why, even though I started off with Figma initially because it's free, I coughed up the 16 pounds as a student. The student price 16 pounds for like the entire Adobe suite, mainly for like just the integration within the Adobe platform. Like if you have
Hmm.
illustration, you can just, because sometimes client also send you like AI files, like Illustrator
Hmm.
files. You can just open them in XD or Photoshop files, and I found that to be really like really powerful compared to Figma, where if you want
Hmm.
to edit a photo, you have to like export it, edit it, import it
Yeah.
back. That kind of like it is a little less freedom for me, even with the paid features. But though Figma is quite powerful, but I think for web design, I think Photoshop and XD is just a combo. If you're already in the Adobe Cloud, Creative Cloud, it just makes sense. And another difference is that I don't do wireframes for any clients. They have to come with the content or the images. Like they need something because otherwise we'll be just designing for dummy text and placeholder
Yeah.
images, right? There's no like always feel. Initially, I did do that. Like I used lorem ipsum and like images I found on like Upsplash and Unsplash and all that. But then I realized whenever they send your pictures, you get a different inspiration, you get a different idea. You're like, and then you have to go back again and rewrite, redo everything. So what
Hmm.
I do now is I wait until they give me their content and the images before I even start. And the first thing I give to review is the lo-fi design, which has the content in it without the images or the colors. So the content is structured in a way, and then because sometimes I also work in a sense that while I'm doing the lo-fi, I add colors to see whether it works. And
Hmm.
by the time I finish the lo-fi, the hi-fi is also there, so they can have both in view. I don't know. I don't think it's traditional because people like to get their lo-fi approved and then they go to the hi-fi. But most of the time, I just go in with the hi-fi and be like, "Here's the final design. Are you happy with it?" Most, like I would say, like all of the clients so far were happy with their designs, with like minor tweaks, like can you add a section here, or can you make this larger, smaller, typical feedback. But
Yeah.
there's never been like, oh, that's really bad. Can you just do it again or
Yeah.
something like that? Um, yeah, and I think that covers the workflow. And the main reason to design first, it's so that your Webflow structure is proper. So that when you build on Webflow, you have the colors, you have the layout, you have the fonts, you have the images, you have everything ready to go, and you just go to Webflow and just build it out. You're not designing on Webflow, you're not creating anything on Webflow, you're just taking the design and implementing it on Webflow.
Yeah.
And another thing I think I do different from a lot of designers is that I don't use the design as the Bible, in a sense that the text, if it's 16 on Figma and I think 14 on Webflow looks better, I'll go with the 14. Anything that looks better on Webflow is final. Even if,
Hmm.
let's say, the image is smaller, that's final. Whereas some designers, they tend to put the design first over Webflow, which is
Hmm.
fine. But I think if you are a Webflow developer, you should see what looks better, because sometimes there is a difference between like the design tool, how it displays fonts and sizes, and on Webflow. So I think as Webflow developers, we need to know the difference, and I think that's what I do differently. That brings us
Yeah,
to the next topic, which is resources and tools we used as
yeah,
beginners.
yeah. So before we get into that, I actually want to talk a little bit more about the design and the workflow.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sure.
So what I do normally is I should have gone into a bit more detail, but the very first thing I do is obviously you should have a questionnaire for your client. What kind of content do you have? And then obviously you can go into lo-fi. But one thing that I found personally to work that just increased my efficiency and just improved my workflow by a ton is actually using a tool called octopus.do. Now, this tool is basically a visual sitemap builder, and I found it to be super useful. Before you can get into a lo-fi design, sometimes you're unaware of what kind of sections you need and stuff like that. So what I do is just to get all of the sections confirmed by the client, I obviously ask the client what kind of content do you have. They say, okay, we've got some testimonials, we've got some services, images, we got this, we got that. I say, okay, cool. Now, whenever you're ready, just upload the content. I send them a Google Drive link. They upload it, and then after that, I'll build out their sitemap. Sometimes I do this before we actually confirm the project, just so they say, okay, this guy is actually serious. He's already getting working on our sitemap and stuff. So yeah, I just use a tool called octopus.do. You can create like a homepage and include all of the
We
sections.
will link it in like the
Um,
description if
yeah,
anyone
we're
wants.
gonna link in the description.
Yeah.
So yeah, use octopus.do is amazing, and I think it's free for I think 3 projects, and after that, I think it's around I don't know, but it's very cheap. It's less than $10 a month. So that I found to work tremendously well, and I recommend that to everyone. Use octopus.do before you actually get into the design, lo-fi design, everything, and you can also use that before you even start the project, just to stand out. So let's say a client is screening 5 different developers. If you email them back saying, oh, just following up, I just created this sitemap for your homepage, um can't wait to hear back, or something along those lines, you're already standing out. And I think I mentioned this in the first episode, that standing out is super important. So I use that tool to also stand out, as well as in my workflow process. um so that's why, yeah, use octopus.do. I found that to work extremely well.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I think that ties in with like the resources and tools we
Yeah.
use as beginners. I think let's separate it. Like I think resources, we mean things that you find, like where do you go for help, where do you find inspirations. Yeah. So what are the resources that you normally use?
So resources, what I suggest to everyone who's first starting out is, it's a no-brainer, but use the Webflow University. You don't need to buy any courses, and I think we're going to talk about this later, what to avoid. But
Yeah.
avoid buying courses. The university is every single thing that you need to learn how to use Webflow,
Yeah.
literally. So
Even very
just watch.
niche stuff, like very niche
Yeah,
stuff, like issues that I think only 10 people will have, they have a video or like
yeah,
a blog post on it on the university. And that
yeah,
thing is like probably why Webflow is standing out compared to like the
yeah.
other website builders, is like the tools
and
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 the
they're so
resources they have.
entertaining as well. The
Yeah.
videos are super entertaining. So
I just
if
watch
you
them
watch
even
it,
though
you
I
can
don't
have
need
fun.
it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
there's a
Yeah,
recent
yeah.
one, I just watch it just for fun.
Yeah. I mean, bro, like the university is the best. Like it's literally like a
Yeah.
university. So just watch all of those videos when you're starting out. That'll give you
Yeah.
a solid foundation. And then just to another resource, just to move on from that, is once you've learned how to use the web, once you watch all of the university videos, once you started practicing on a few websites yourself, what you can do just to measure your skills is you can do the Webflow exams, and we're going to include all of the links in the description that we mentioned. So you can take the Webflow exam, and then that exam can go through. It asks you like a bunch of multiple choice questions, and
This
that
is
can
the
really test. Yeah,
expert one, right?
yeah. That is the
Yeah,
expert one.
yeah,
I think after you developed a few websites, then you can get into it, because some of the questions, a few of those, actually quite a lot of those questions are quite complicated.
yeah,
So I would suggest practicing quite a lot and testing yourself against that. But I want to have a little warning message or disclaimer, is that I think you can only take it around 4 times before
yeah.
you actually cannot take it
Yeah,
anymore. So
that
just be
is like,
very careful.
yes, you wouldn't. It's not like a test you just do for fun to test yourself.
Hmm.
It's a test that you do to really show that you are an expert and no more a beginner. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's one official way to test your knowledge is the Webflow experts
yeah,
exam certification stuff.
yeah.
Um,
And then I think
yeah,
another resource is definitely YouTube. Like, I think
yeah,
nowadays everyone knows this. You can literally learn anything
yeah,
by yourself. You don't need to go to university or take a course. Everything is available on YouTube, on Google, on Reddit, on
yeah,
whatever. And it's all on your phone. Like, it's a no-brainer to use YouTube. So we're gonna
yeah,
link a bunch of YouTube channels we recommend in the description.
yeah,
There's obviously, Rand Segal, who's very good at design. You can learn a lot about design from him. There's a bunch of YouTubers as well that we recommend as well. They're all going to be in the
yeah.
description.
And also
Um,
the because you say Webflow University, the Webflow forum is also like really really useful, man.
yeah,
um if you want anything to do with Webflow, search, let's say you're stuck on something, search that thing with Webflow forum. You will find at least three answers, three solutions to your problem on the
yeah,
Webflow forum. And I don't think anybody goes into the forum to search for anything. You search it on Google and it brings you to the forum. But yeah, it's a good place to. It's not for like broad questions like, hey, how do I style something? It's more a little bit more niche. If you're stuck on something or you need some code help, sometimes you're stuck with code or you just need to know how to figure something out. I think the Webflow forum is like the best tool besides the university. There's
yeah,
so many experts in there that sometimes even if you have a question that you cannot find on the forum, post it, man. I think some like people reply to it within like an hour or two.
yeah,
So it's
definitely.
really really powerful.
Yeah,
And
and
yeah, the
talking
YouTube
about
you
yeah,
yeah you
yeah,
mentioned
talking
YouTube.
about help. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
go on. YouTube.
yeah. So you mentioned YouTube, and I think the first few channels that I learned was from Ran. His older
Rand
videos
Segal, yeah.
were more about Webflow and designing with Webflow. Right now, I think it's more like courses and stuff like that. But his older videos, like from 2 3 years ago, is a lot more for beginners, and it's quite easy. His tutorials are really easy, and also you can copy it. Or I don't know whether he releases it at Clonable, but worth checking it out. Another one is Pixel Geek, man. Again,
Pixel,
he
definitely.
does like live stream live
Live
builds.
streams, yeah.
It's really really useful, and he explains it so simply. There's no even there's code, he tries to explain it every single line. And I think that he was one of the reasons why jQuery become a bit more easier to understand, because he just explains it so well. And I think even his earlier streams like 3 4 years ago, he takes like a design and he builds it out on Webflow. And by
Hmm.
just watching him do stuff, you learn. And I would even put Timothy Ricks, but then he's more for
Yeah,
advanced users. But even as a beginner, when you watch this stuff, you get an idea of what else you can do with Webflow. Because sometimes as a
definitely.
beginners, we kind of stuck with like there's like a barrier. We still don't know what you can do, so we kind of get stuck on like this is the quality that we can do. And I think watching Timothy's channel, I think one of his very early videos I posted down there, like just watching you work, like opens up my mind to like, oh, I can do this,
Hmm.
right? And it can just like, oh, I was worrying about this for no reason. Or like, oh, that gives me a
Hmm.
great idea. So I think just watching these experts do their stuff is just really, really cool and just opens your mind as
Definitely.
well.
Yeah, and just talking about experts is, even as a beginner, you can watch these people, like experts. They may be doing something that's outside of your knowledge range, you can say.
Yeah.
but just by watching them, it kind of opens your mind, as Vim said. But yeah, man, I think as a beginner, what you should do is, yeah, as I said, the Webflow University, 100% watch that. If you're first starting out, the Webflow University and YouTube videos, and once you start practicing, I think those are just they are more than enough to build a fully functioning client website, I think.
Yeah.
And once
Yeah.
you start doing that, and then afterwards you start, becoming intermediate or whatever,
Yeah.
then start
And
moving
then
on to the expert stuff like custom
yeah.
coding, Timothy Ricks. And then yeah, that's when you start to use the full potential of Webflow by custom code. Because
Yeah.
custom code, it just takes Webflow to a whole new level. It's already powerful without custom code, but with custom code, you just go to that expert level.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, just to recap, as a beginner, university, the Webflow University and YouTube videos. And once you've done that, then move on to like Timothy Ricks, Pixel Geek, and a lot of this custom coding stuff. And yeah, you can move on to high level design as well.
Yeah.
Just to give an example, Joseph Berry has, he's a world class designer, and he releases I think he has a course right now on awards. So we're gonna link
Yeah.
all of these in the description. So check that
Yeah.
out.
And I think that
Yeah.
brings us to like the topic avoid at all costs.
Hmm.
For me, I would highly recommend not buying any expensive courses. Like expensive could be relative, could be $100,
Hmm.
could be $300, could be $1,000. But if you're just starting out as beginners, I just would say do not spend more than $50 on any course for now. Like I think there's so much free content out there that this paid content, I really don't see what they do different.
Yeah,
Maybe they
it's not
have
worth it.
support or they have like one-to-one support or they have a community support, stuff like that. But honestly, if you want a community, the Facebook group is a great place to ask for help. Even if it's small stuff, somebody will reply you. Worst case, I'll reply you. I just go ahead and just sometimes just it's like, oh, how do I change this? I'll just type it out because they're asking for help. Just ask for help on the group. I think people are quite helpful there. um yeah, just these
Yeah,
expensive courses just don't make sense for me even from very early on. Mainly because, as I said, there's a lot of free content, and I would really recommend not. It kind of feels bad because I'm sure they put like thought and effort into the
yeah.
courses, but it's not for everybody. Like it doesn't mean like if you're a beginner you must get this course. You can
Hmm.
absolutely start with no course, no training, for free. And if after a while, when you're making money, invest it, right? Invest in yourself. Go and buy these courses. There's like Rand Segal's course. There's Joseph
Joseph
Berry's course on
Berry.
awards. Yeah, awards. I think he's the only one with a Webflow course, but there are like so
Hmm.
many other courses that it's not related to Webflow, but it's a little bit more advanced, which I think is more useful to challenge yourself rather than taking these beginner courses. Like most of the time, these are stuff that you can do with a few Google searches away.
Definitely, man. Yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah, one more thing to yeah, just to touch on courses. Just I would say as a beginner, do not go near them. Like it's not necessary at all. As Vim
yeah,
said, just as a beginner, like it's not worth the investment.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, as I said before, university and YouTube video is more than enough to get started. Once you start getting the hang of it and you want to level up your game, literally just to if you're intermediate, you want to go to that expert level, then you can start buying courses. For example, myself, I bought Joseph Berry's course. I bought Paid Digital's course. I'm gonna buy Rand Segal's course. So like once you start making a bit of money and then you have the money to invest, then start investing in courses.
yeah,
When you're first starting out, there's literally no point at all.
yeah. Because
Just so you can go to that expert level. Yeah,
yeah, you could just be like playing for fun, and then you buy the course, and you decide, oh, I don't like Webflow. I want to go back to WordPress. You just
yeah,
lose, $300 on that. Just be safe in a little sense. Like right now, don't simply waste money is what I would say.
yeah, yeah, man. All right. So next
Cool.
topic I think is mindset. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the topic that I really wanted to talk about today because I think this is the most important out of everything is your mindset as a beginner. Now, as a beginner, everyone knows this. When you're starting out, a lot of people compare themselves. Like when I was a beginner, I was comparing myself all the time. Like, oh, why is this guy doing this? Why is no, 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 not why is this guy doing this? Like, why am I not at this guy's level? Why are my designs not that good? all of this kind of stuff. And that is literally the killer of motivation or drive. Is literally going to kill your drive if you compare. So just do not compare yourself, and just be happy with where you are right now. And just remember that everyone started as a beginner. You don't just open Webflow for the first time and become an expert straight away. It takes time and consistency doing these small little tasks every single day, for, over a long period of time. That's what's going to take you to that expert level. So yeah, do not compare yourself. And especially when people compare themselves to companies like Apple's website and or whatever Tesla's website. Like, why are you comparing your designs to their designs? That they have whole teams behind them who have tons of years of experience. So yeah, when you're beginning, just remind you, just have the mindset of learning. Just
Yeah.
learn, and that's how you can get better. Do not worry about what if this person's design is better or her design is better. Just focus on
Yeah.
yourself and just focus on learning as much as possible, and just keep on leveling up your game every single day to the point where you're happy with what your designs look like. For me personally, I think only like a few months ago, or I think last month or a few weeks ago, that's when I started to be happy with my level of design. And even now, I know that I can improve a ton, but it took me a really long time to get to the point where I'm really happy with my design and I can show people and people, really like it. So just take your time and just be consistent and always learn. If there's a new trick out, if you want to use custom code, just level up your game every single day. Even right now, I'm doing this. I think only for the past few months, I've started to get into custom code, and I feel like that's gonna level up my game. So yeah, if I'm leveling up, I know Vim is leveling up. All of these experts are trying to level themselves up as well. So always stay a learner and always
Yeah.
learn and always improve. And that's how you
Yeah.
can become an expert. And yeah, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. That summarizes the beginner's mindset. It's just be be part of the process. Like, it's not about the end goal. Yes, everyone wants to earn $10,000 for a website. Everyone wants to make as much money as they can from a website, but that's the goal, and that shouldn't be why you're doing it. You should be doing for the process. Everybody says this, right? Oh, enjoy the process, but it sounds cliche and like a bit cringe sometimes. But you will know it's the right thing when the money is not motivating you, right? When you're starting, it's never about the money. It's always about, oh, that's incredible. Like, for me, it was the state of flow that I go in every time I'm designing. I'm just like, I just play music until YouTube kind of stops after like 50 minutes. If you don't
Yeah.
interact with it, it pauses, right? There was one time when I was starting out, I was just designing something, and it just paused for like 2 hours, and I was like, wait, why am I wearing my earphones? And then I took it out and I looked, oh, but like it
Yeah.
was paused for like 2 hours ago. So that's when I realized, oh, this is the state of flow. And people talk about, there's a lot of books and people that talk
Webflow.
about, this is
Webflow,
the
yeah.
web flow. And then our one
Yeah.
viewer leaves, right?
Yeah.
Quality content.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
the state of flow is a good indication that you're doing the right thing, and it's about time. You just got to practice, get better, and money will follow you. Like,
Yeah.
as cringe
And
and as cliche as it sounds, even for
it's
you, like
true.
6 months ago compared now, your prices definitely increased without you knowing. You don't go like, hey, I want to like make sure the next project is this amount. You just naturally be more confident and ask for the amount that you think you're worth, and that will double, triple as you get better at it. So like within
Definitely.
1 year, your prices can like quadruple, and then just imagine the same 1 year, but a cumulative of 2 years. That compounding effect is like insane, and that's why people
Hmm.
say like, you just gotta hold until you're growing and you're exponentially growing, and that's because it's compounding. Like your experience, your time, your budget, your
Yeah.
knowledge, even your terms, the words that you use to describe something will upgrade as you go. And I realize that now, like I compared to what I used to say on my emails and when I'm on chat or when I'm calls, the terminologies I use is different. The way I ask a question is different compared to back then when it's a little bit more beginnerish. And these are like effects that you will notice once you've been doing it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just about learning and updating.
learning
And
and
even
growing.
now, after a year and a half, it's always about learning something and changing something. You
Yeah,
cannot just stick to something and grow. Change is the only thing that doesn't change. Quote
definitely. Yeah,
quote of the day.
yeah. And I actually want to touch upon mindset again. So once you're starting out, money shouldn't even be on your mind. And I can explain this. Okay, everyone wants to make money. Everyone wants to have that 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 project, whatever your goal is, right? It even could be 1,000. So what I would say at the beginning, do not focus on money. Once you're starting out, and this is the harsh truth, but you are literally invaluable. You have no value to provide. When you're starting out, you don't know in this. I'm talking specifically about this industry, but this is can be relative to any industry. With this specific industry, you can't design, you can't develop, you can't communicate, you don't have nothing, you don't have no sales knowledge. So when you're starting out, you literally have zero value. So how do you expect to approach a person and charge them 5 figures for a website? Is ludicrous, man. It's very foolish. So what I would say, when you're starting out, just focus on building your value, increasing your value, and that comes through learning and leveling up yourself every single day.
But then
That's
now
how
I
you
have a
can, yeah.
question. What do you mean by value? As a beginner,
So
there's
yeah,
something that I could not wrap my head around.
so
What is
value
value?
is so value is okay. Let's say somebody, a business owner approaches me, right, and they literally ask an open-ended question: "What can you do for me?" If you kind of list out a bunch of reasons, you have no value, right? And that's literally what most beginners can do. If you when I was starting out and a person asked me, "What can you do for me as a business owner?" I couldn't say I can develop a website. I couldn't say I can design. I couldn't say I can, increase your sales from a website or whatever. But if a person asks me now, what can you do for me that is of value? I can say, okay, I can build you a fully functioning website that is, that has longevity. I can increase your sales by, having sales funnels. I can do some SEO that will increase your leads. So I think that is where the value lies, where you build enough skills that you can provide value to a business. And you can say that the intrinsic way of saying this is, how can you make another business money? That is value. So focus on building your value, focus on building these skills that can provide value or make money for businesses. For example, building a fully functioning website has a lot of value. If it's an e-commerce store, everything runs through their website. If it's a service business, their reputation lies in the website. So building all of these valuable skills, that's how you bring up your value, you can say, and that's how you can start charging these prices. So right now, I know stuff that I never knew 6 months ago. For example, I know a bit about custom code. I can make some cool interactions and animations. I know how to my messaging has gone better, copywriting, etc. So, this way I've gained a bunch of skills over a long period of time that has increased my value. So that is what I mean by value. I know I said value a lot, but yeah. So
Take a
when you're
shot
starting
every
out,
time
bro,
you say
like,
value.
yeah, when you're starting out, you have no value. So learn and focus on building up your valuable skills. That could be web design, interactions, animations. There's so many stuff: sales, lead
Yeah,
generation, messaging, copyright. There's so many stuff, and you have to slowly build them to the point where you are an expert. And that
yeah,
takes a long time. And that is the reason why people start when they're starting out. Why can't I charge, £1,000, £2,000 for a project? And the harsh truth is, you can't, because you're not worth that much money.
yeah.
So once you build up your value,
And
then start talking about, okay, I can charge 5,000,
and you
10,000.
will feel that value like after a point when, let's say, you get a website for $500 and you do a good job, and then another client comes for $500 and you do like $1,000 worth website, $2,000 worth website. You yourself will be like, no, that is not worth, like, my worth is more than $500. And that's what I felt
Mm,
when I did like my first two websites. That was $500. I just looked at the website. I'm like, genuinely, this website doesn't look like a $500 website. I've seen like $3,000 websites that look worse than what I've done. And that once you are more accustomed, once you know how much people are charging, and you know what's the worth of work, and you get to explore a lot of websites, you have this intrinsic value that you value yourself more. And for me, that is value. Like when you're beginning,
Yeah.
you have no like way to compare
Confidence.
yourself or
Yeah.
compare your work to somebody because you don't know anything, right? So your value is of course zero because you're comparing with nothing. But once you
Hmm.
start, start at like $500, right? That's, I would say, is the minimum. I would even say 1,000, but $500 is just an entry level Webflow job should be $500. And then you see the work that you do and you genuinely be honest with yourself and look at your website and say, is that worth $500? And your answer should always be no, that's worth more than $500. And that's how you start building value. And then
Yeah.
you can see examples of like $3,000 websites, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. Like I've seen YouTube case studies of $10,000 websites, and I'm like, that is $10,000. I can do that for $100. When I first started out, I was like, wait, what? I
Yeah.
can do that now, right? But that is the value they have. And if you can compare yourself and get to that level, you too can like charge a lot more than you think. It's gonna happen
Yeah.
slowly, but it will happen.
Definitely. And I
Yeah.
liked how you talked about, leveling up, always say no.
Yeah.
If you built a website for $500, if it looks like a $500 website, you're doing something
Nah.
wrong.
Yeah.
So when you're so a lot of the point where your skills stop, so you don't learn anything new, you're not building your skills, you're just staying stagnant. That is when your prices will also stay the same, or
Yeah.
they'll even
So
drop
the
because
the
everyone else
mindset
is getting better than you.
the most beginners would have is like, oh, they're only giving me $500. I'll just do like the bare minimum, left, right content. I'll just take a logo from here, drop it in there. I'll just take an image. They don't put the effort because I'm worth more than $500. No, like because even though they're only paying you $500, it still matters that you give them more value than they paid for, so that yourself feel good, and you can put that in a selfish way. You can put that in your portfolio. And here's a trick: when you're talking to other clients, refer to the website and just say that's like $1,000 website or $3,000 website. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit, right? As long as your website looks like a $3,000 website, nobody's gonna, you know, cross reference that or cross check that, right? This is something that you yourself will know, right? Like if
Mhm.
you look at any of my website, I would say all of them look more than $5,000, £5,000, but they won't, right? Especially when you're starting off, they're not 5,000, 10,000 pounds. But work, always over deliver. Like Brian says here, I think he's the only one watching. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, over delivering will justify raising your rates. That's very
Definitely.
true.
And yeah, man, I think one time I think one of my teachers in my tuition center told me that in business, if you're not moving forward, you're actually moving backwards.
Yeah,
So if you're not learning and growing and increasing your skills and value every single day, you're doing something wrong. You're actually moving backwards because everyone else behind you is catching up. And once they catch up, it's very hard to catch back up with them.
yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say. I think I repeated this so many times, but carry on learning every single day, increase your
Learn
value,
and over
and that's how you
deliver.
can learn and over deliver. That's how
Yeah,
you can increase your value
yeah,
every single project. And again, I really loved how Vim said about his quotes. You can say, if you look at a website and if you look at a website that you built and it was $500 and it looks like a $500 website, you're doing
nah,
something wrong. Like,
get out.
yeah, it should be at least double or even triple that value, and that is when you will start seeing growth.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think this topic has
especially
gone
as a
on for quite a
beginner.
while. Yeah, especially
Especially
as
as
a
a
beginner,
beginner.
man.
Yeah,
Because as a beginner, like you, well, once you're starting into the level of 10,000, 5,000, then you can, just provide a 5,000, 10,000. If you,
yeah,
once in a while you can do that. But as a beginner, every single one of your projects has to be over delivered, and it has to be at least double the value because that is the only way you can grow.
yeah.
Yeah, and one more thing that I wanted to mention before we move on is do not pick and choose when you're a beginner. When you're a beginner, right? Very few projects will come to you, and you can't be like, "Oh, this person only gave me $500. I'm going to reject him." No, that can't be your mindset. Your mindset, I'm not saying accept every single project that comes your
Yeah, I
way,
was gonna say
but
that.
I'm
Yeah,
saying don't like stand on a a pedestal and be like, yeah, I'm not gonna get this guy, or you're not at that level yet. Like you don't have the power to say no.
Yeah.
In a
Unless
sense,
they're annoying clients,
yeah.
then just
Unless
give them the
you're,
money and get the fuck out.
yeah. But
Right.
most of them, like if they're
Yeah.
undervaluing you, just take the project on and over deliver and
Yeah.
put on your portfolio to get more.
Yeah.
That is an investment you can make, and when you're a beginner, you don't have much time. So you actually have a lot of time. So that's, you can do, you have the time to do that. So yeah, as a beginner, man, yeah, repeat this like 5 million times, but learn every single day, grow and increase your value, man. Let's move on, bro.
Bro, Harshit is here. Sup, man? How are you?
You're at hard shit,
Here,
man.
here's
Good
the
to see
here's
you,
the
bro.
fin suite. Here's the fin suite represent this week because Rima is
Vince.
in Mexico.
Oh, okay. Nice one. How you doing, hard shit, man? It's good to see everyone here. Finn Sweet in the house, yeah. It's good.
Yeah, I think initially we had a different topic right after the beginner's mindset, but I think I pushed this up. What makes a good Webflow developer?
Yeah. So
Yeah, for
I
me,
think,
I think
yeah,
as you
go on.
mentioned, is details, right? Attention to details is the difference between a $500 website and a $5,000 website. Is the attention to detail. Every single micro interaction that you can do it. Make sure your images are compressed. Make sure you use SVG for your logos. Details like this really add value to the website. Things people won't notice uphand, but they will know something is wrong. If an
Hmm.
image is lagging, or you know something just feels a little off, people will know, users will know.
Hmm.
And oftentimes is these small interactions of like just your menu button, just from a three line, a burger menu becomes an X. Stuff like this
Hmm.
adds a lot of character to the website. And another thing I would say is also content. Right now I don't really have a content writer, but I know having proper content writer actually makes a website much better. Like it just elevates the entire design, the entire website to another level. And I think to be a good Webflow developer, you need to be a good content writer, because as a beginner you cannot afford to hire anybody. So you have to learn what makes a headline catchy. You have to know what makes a paragraph interesting to read. You have to know where to place content so that people, when they're scrolling through the website, they have an idea of what the business
Yeah.
is or what the product is.
Yeah.
um
And I
yeah, so
just want
what
to touch
makes
on,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So I just want to touch on messaging. So a website, right? Extremely beautiful website with shit messaging is going to be a shit website. But a decent design website with amazing messaging would be an amazing website.
yeah,
So messaging can literally, make or break a website. It's all in the messaging. A lot of people say, "Yeah, I'm a designer. I can build you a beautiful website." But yeah, that's all well and good. But if you don't have the right messaging to back that, then there's no point, literally. And yeah, that's why I say messaging is like super important. That's why as soon as you can afford a professional expert copywriter, do that, because that will just level up your game so much. And
yeah,
again, it will increase the value of your website so much, which
yeah.
is what you want. So yeah, as soon as you can afford a copywriter, get it and increase the value of your projects, so you can get more, higher
Yeah.
value or
And the
higher
second one
budget projects.
would
Yeah.
be like more Webflow developer oriented, is learning how to structure your website. I have seen websites by beginners, but just looking at the navigator, I don't want to work with them, or I just know that they don't know what they're talking about. Learn how to name classes, using the client first, or you can use the BEM, which is also another class naming method that you can use. Structuring your site and making sure your class names are well structured will not be visible to the average user, but when someone else with the knowledge of Webflow or coding looks at your website, they will appreciate your value, and you can
Hmm.
post about it. Honestly, if you have a good structured website, take a screenshot of the navigator and put it up on Facebook. I think developers really like to see, and especially because as a beginner, you might not be the only one on the website. Your client might be on the website, or you might hand off the website to someone else. If you can show them how powerful Webflow is and how easy it is to name your classes properly, it's going to add value to your clients, right? It's going back, just over delivering. It's very easy to just not name your classes, put leave image 275 on your
Mm-hmm.
website, but it does not leave a good image on you if the client decides to go to someone else to do maybe a maintenance work or just to add something, and the other developer is like, who developed your website? That sucks. They should
Mm-hmm.
properly structure your website properly, and then they are
Yeah,
never going to come back to you, even though you could be a great designer developer, but if you don't know how to structure your website, they're not going to come back to you. So what makes
yeah,
a good Webflow
definitely.
developer is learning how to structure your Webflow website.
Definitely. And one more thing that I want to add, first, you said an amazing point, and that's one of my pet peeves, man. Is literally like a shit,
Bro,
structuring of a website, like
I've seen
div
so many.
500 million, 554,000. You like it's so like it honestly makes me sick, like seeing
There's a
these kind of
project that
websites.
I just finished. I restructured the site using client first, and then you can clear up classes. There's
Yeah,
673 classes that I can delete. I just took
that's
a
crazy.
screenshot of it and I just left it for myself just to see, like, just to show other
Yeah.
clients, be like, see if you can hire us, we can remove 600 classes from your website. It
That's
just
true,
doesn't
man.
make sense, man.
Yeah, so yeah, man. Again, like class structuring is super important, and shout out to FinSuite for making it so easy
Yeah,
to just literally remove that kind of issue. You can literally by using client first. I use it as well. It literally just levels up your game, makes it so much easier
yeah, because
to
it
develop
is
and
not
making everything
like a
clean.
generic coding class names, because before this people were using what coders use. They
Hmm.
use like atomic design, which is more designer oriented. So every single CSS property is its own class, and
Hmm.
then people use BEMs. I think Timothy Ricks uses BEM. I'm not sure,
Hmm.
but these are more development oriented, and it's not
Hard
for
coding, yeah.
Webflow. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the thing is, when a client sees is absolute relative, they have no idea what the hell that means, right? Or if a
Hmm.
marketing officer sees that, they have no idea what that means. Whereas client first literally is in the name. It puts the client first, because on
Yeah.
Webflow you do not need to name your classes like tax 77 white, you know like
Hmm.
that. It's so much clearer than just saying heading one, right? Because
Hmm.
now you're even now I don't use it anymore. Like, I used to use it when I was a beginner, but now I've realized that really leads to a lot more confusion to whoever's maintaining the website, or even you when you jump back into the website. So
Yeah,
client first, I would really say, it's like a Webflow oriented class naming solution, which I think every developer, every beginner need to at least know how to use it. Again, it's
definitely.
not a hard set of rules. Like, you can bend it to suit your needs, but it's a good way to start. Like, I think if all Webflow developers have a consistent class structure, bro, it's gonna make life so much easier for all of us, man.
Definitely. Definitely, man. Yeah. And just to move on from that, I want to talk about another thing that's gonna make that's gonna make you a good Webflow developer, right? So I think this is with any kind of industry, you have to stay on top of things. And in Webflow, there's so much stuff coming out every single day. Like you have to stay on top of things. Like before, there weren't that many third-party integrations. Now there's a ton, and you have to stay on top of that if you want to be an expert, great Webflow developer. You
Yeah,
have to stay on top of everything that's going around. Like right now, a custom code is the shit. Like everyone's using that. All of the experts
yeah,
are using that. Um, yeah. So all of the experts are using custom code. So if you want to be a great Webflow developer, always stay
you,
on top of things. So for example, right
yeah,
now, I'm staying on top of custom code. Like I'm learning custom code as we speak. Like yeah, so that's my way of learning and growing, just staying on top of things, whatever's popping right now, whatever, if anything's new, some new integration like HubSpot, Zapier, anything like that, just staying on top of things. And that's how you can get to that expert level. Because if you don't and
and
you just stay with the native Webflow features, you're just
yeah,
going to get left behind.
yeah, and that also brings to, like, another point is that if you want to be a good Webflow developer, you need to know what are the limitations of Webflow, because
Hmm.
clients can come to you with, like an idea, or like they have a requirement. You need to know whether you can build it, or whether it can be actually built on Webflow, right?
Hmm.
As a beginner, you will not get most of this, like this requests, because even right now, I haven't run into any client where I say Webflow will not suit you, but there are
Hmm.
absolute limitations to Webflow. like the CMS, you can only show 100, natively, and there's so many native limitations that you need to know so that you can find solutions to. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why you become a good Webflow developer. For example, if a client comes to you with a membership login, if you do not know that you can do that on Webflow using MemberStack, you're just going to say, oh, that's not possible. That does
Yeah,
not
and
make
then
you a
they're
good
gonna hire
developer.
someone else. Yeah.
Who knows MemberStack, and it's not even difficult to learn. So you just need to be, again, adding to the point of like, know the limitations and find the solutions to it. So if a client wants filtering, yeah, there's so many options out there. There's like 3 options, you should say, there's JetBoost, there's FinSuite, sorry. And there's, I think Refocus also released like a new filtering system. You need to know all the solutions to, things that clients can bring up. And that
Yeah.
immediately puts you above a beginner.
Yeah.
You're not
And
saying like,
yeah.
oh, I'll get back to you, or I'm not sure that's possible. You can be like, yeah, we can do that with this. And, that again boosts your confidence and makes you more,
Yeah. And
trustworthy.
that's what separates the experts from the
Yeah.
average developers. Just
And
by
also
staying on
like,
top of things. Yeah.
we should just bring Harshit to the meeting.
Yeah.
He just
Few
covered
more
all the
points can
points.
be having yeah, a few more points can be having a good process, running quality checks. Yeah. Pre and
Yeah.
post launch checklists,
I would say
basic
like
SEO.
SEO. Yeah. Like basic SEO is key, because even if the client wants to do it themselves, teach them how to do it. Record
Hmm.
a Loom video, tell them how to do it. 404 page is something people just completely
Yeah.
forget, and sometimes
And
I
yeah,
forget too.
that's what you mentioned, right? The
Yeah,
details. So 404
details.
page is
Yeah,
a detail that a lot of people forget. Privacy
yeah,
page, page speed, basic of SEO. A lot of people miss out, only
yeah,
having one H1 tag on a single page.
yeah,
A lot of people just dismiss that and they say, oh, the client will know. But
yeah.
that's what separates the experts from from the decent average Webflow developer.
Yeah,
Focusing
just
on
going
those
that extra
details,
extra
yeah,
step. Yeah, good points, man.
definitely, man. Good points,
Really.
harsh hit, man. That's excellent. All right, man.
Yeah. So
Let's move on,
our
bro. What's the next
final
topic?
topic is learn to code.
Learn to code.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
So,
as a beginner jQuery kind of, even though I come from a JavaScript background, like I knew how to code in Java, JavaScript, Python, all these languages, I just couldn't wrap my head around jQuery and JavaScript for some reason. Like I can do it when it's pure code, when it's just like completely code without Webflow. But for some reason, I just cannot wrap my head around HTML, like Webflow with code. Like
mhm.
I don't know how to explain it, but it is something that if you're coming from a
You
coding
can't really
background,
merge the two, right? Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't see how I could merge. Like, oh, there's a text here. I could do it on. Sorry, am I hitting the mic? I think I
No,
should
no,
move
no.
the
It's
mic.
fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Like in the coding side, when I'm like on the code editor, I can see like, oh, to target this text, I just need this line of code. But on Webflow, I just, maybe because there's a disconnect between no code and code, like my brain just
Hmm.
couldn't connect it. But the
Yeah.
moment you just just connect it, like that opens up a lot of solutions. Like your mind, I swear to God, the first day I saw like the code works, I'm like, bro, now nothing is impossible on Webflow. And I think that is the power of Webflow. It's the custom code that you can add to the website.
Hmm.
So on like button
Definitely.
click, you can change the text, you can change the color, you can add classes, remove classes. jQuery has like, now almost every website has jQuery on or every project of mine has jQuery on it. And I think
Hmm.
learning how to use that is again going to set you aside from the other beginners. And sometimes using code is much faster than just using Webflow. Once you
Definitely.
know how
Yeah.
to use it, you're just like, oh shit, 2 lines of code is gonna do it. Then in Webflow you have to use like 3, 4 classes to do it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
learn
So,
the code.
yeah, man. That is
And
very
you're
good
in the
points you
process
said.
of it
Yeah.
right now, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I've never came from a coding background. I just knew HTML and CSS. Yeah, I really like what Brian said. The more value you can provide makes you stand out from your competition. And I mentioned this in the last episode, where just stand out a third of an inch. And once you, not even a third of an inch, bro, like 5 centimeters, like if you can stand out that much, like just a little bit, that literally puts you at so much of an advantage. And I think, I don't know if I mentioned this previously. Actually, I want to just talk about a little story about how standing out kind of made me win a project, right? So I think I was on this YouTuber's Instagram story, and I saw that he posted a promotion of an app. So I went on the app, and it was like a matchmaking app, right? And so what I done, and that kind of app, their demographic was really very specifically targeted, and it kind of met my demographic. And I done a bit of research. I found out the owner, the CEO, and stuff, and all of the people behind it. And I reached out to them. But and before I reached out to them, what I done just to make myself stand out, what I done is I quickly just designed a landing page. Um, yeah, thank you very much, Brian. But yeah, I just quickly designed the landing page for the app because I checked their website and it was complete garbage. Even though the app was amazing, for some reason I don't think they had the budget to invest in a website, or they just couldn't be bothered. So what I done right is I just designed a landing page for them, and I just I think I put it on InVision. It's like a software that you can use to put up a design and they can comment on it and stuff. So I just sent that link to them, and then they viewed it. The CEO viewed it, and yeah, we literally um he was really happy about the design. Said, "Oh, this is so sick," and yeah, man, we would love for you to do our website one day and stuff. And then I think a few months later, they reached back out to me and said, "Yeah, let's hop on a sales call." And yeah, I closed two projects that day. One was for the actual website. Now all I have to do is just develop the design that I've done, and also I closed another project for his own personal brand website. So
And
just by doing these
even
little
let's say,
stuff, yeah,
like even let's say you didn't close the client, it's content. Just put it out there on
yeah.
Instagram, put it on LinkedIn.
Or you
Yeah,
can just change up the content on
content,
the
and
website
just
and just
do
release
it
it
to
as a
someone else.
portfolio item.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's just so like just doing these little stuff, and that landing page probably took me 2-3 hours to build, which is that kind of time. A lot of people say, "Oh, no, I'm not going to waste 2-3 hours on this," but
yeah,
those 3 hours literally is invaluable. Like it was worth so much more than the hours that I put in. So just just by doing these little things makes you stand out, right? And
yeah,
yeah, just back to yeah, that's what I have to say for that. Now back to the topic of learning to code. Now Vimalin mentioned like a good point of learning jQuery and JavaScript and stuff. But what I would say is when you're a beginner, before you get into Webflow, I recommend learning at least the basics of HTML and CSS.
yeah.
That
Oh,
will
bro,
really put you at an
bro,
advantage,
just
and that's
learning
what made me
CSS positioning, like
yeah,
just what is relative, absolute, fixed, and
flex,
sticky do.
grid, all of this stuff.
Just
Yeah.
that three thing just opens everything in HTML
Hmm.
and CSS. Like I think for
Yeah.
me, even coming from a coding background, I never understood what the hell was sticky, how the hell
Yeah.
to use sticky. Even now sometimes I get stuck on like, wait, why is it not working? It is a
Hmm.
very tricky concept, but once it clicks, and that's the beauty of code. It's like it's difficult until you crack it. The
Hmm.
day you find a solution to it, you will never forget it. And that's
Hmm.
like the beauty of like this whole development and this whole design journey is like they are like almost like riding a bicycle. Once you know how to do it, you cannot fall off a bicycle ever. Even if you try, you'll
Hmm.
never fall off it. And that's code as well. Like once you learn it, it's difficult to learn, but once you learn it, you're never ever gonna forget it. And I
Hmm.
think as a beginner, the first thing you should do is learning how to use CSS positioning,
HTML and CSS,
HTML,
because
CSS.
yeah, that
Yeah,
literally ties in with Webflow. If you know HTML and CSS, Webflow, the resistance of learning Webflow, right? You can put that in different terms, like the
yeah,
amount, the length it will take you to learn Webflow, the difficulty. It will literally cut it by 99%, bro. Like learning HTML and CSS will literally, bro, is crazy. Like I suggest to every single person that's watching, which is probably like one person, but learn how to code HTML CSS. That will literally, especially when you're starting out, your workflow journey will be so much smoother, and it will automatically put you on an advantage to every single person.
yeah,
And yeah, again, that point of standing out by a third of an inch. Yeah, just by learning how to code, that makes you stand out to everyone else as a beginner.
yeah.
So yeah, bro, that's what I have to say with that, man.
Cool, man. And I think we are over like the 1 hour mark already again.
Hmm.
It's supposed to be a 30
Again,
minute show, bro.
yeah, 30 minutes. But bro, is so good to just talk about this stuff, man. I can go on forever,
Yeah,
but
I think
yeah,
we
man,
can
we do
set
have
it to
to
like
end
an
it.
hour. I think an hour is just nice, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
finally it's just weekly reviews. Do you have any updates? Anything that you want to share?
Yeah, so I did close another client last week. It was from an agency. So yeah, I do close a lot of projects from agencies and stuff. But I'm not really focusing on closing projects right now. I'm just trying to focus on my own thing. But yeah, I also got a clonable coming out very soon. It's a really cool like animation side menu type of clonable that's gonna come out very soon. But yeah, man, that's all I got going on this week.
Cool. Yeah, same. I just have a client that I closed last week or the week before, but I scheduled it around this week just to space
Mm-hmm.
myself out. And then yeah, I told you about the freelance platform thing. I have it wireframed now. I'm just thinking whether I should build it on a live stream or build it out, launch it, and then make a video on it. I don't know. We'll see how it
Mm.
goes. I want to do it in a live stream, but it might be over an hour or
Yeah,
two.
that also reminds me, I'm gonna also put out a video quite soon of me building out a landing page for one of my clonables.
Yeah, I
So
think
that's
I
gonna
think let's
come out
just do
quite
that,
soon.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
live stream we can just keep it for this, and then
Yeah.
yeah, you might discuss about making videos on like design and development, long form content over 20 minutes. But yeah,
Yeah, man.
that's pretty
And
much my
just
week
before
this
we
week.
end off, I just want
Yeah,
to say one thing, right? Is I think we had a topic right at the beginning of this show. What resources you can use for help. The biggest resource you can, not the biggest, but one of the resources you can use is us or any other expert in Webflow. Just reach out to us on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. You can even call me from I got my number on my agency website. Call me, message me, reach out to my LinkedIn if you have help. I do help out quite a lot of people, quite a lot of beginners. I do jump on calls. So if you have any question, you can just reach out to any of us. I can create a
yeah,
new
and
video
I
for
think
you. I
that
can
goes
jump on
to
a
like
call. So
almost
yeah.
any expert. Like just
Hmm.
message people.
Yeah.
Given that it's a valid question, right? Don't come and ask like, hey, how do I set a div to 360 pixels or something like that? We are not gonna
Yeah.
respond. But if you're
Yeah.
genuinely stuck on anything, if you just need someone a fresh pair of eyes to look at, send us a read only link and maybe a Loom video of what's the problem, and I think we'll both be happy to help anytime.
Yeah, definitely. And that goes
Yeah,
for everyone in the industry. Like, it's a
yeah,
very nice industry. Like, don't
yeah,
hesitate to reach out to anyone.
yeah.
And yeah, man, that's all I have to say for that. And
Cool, man.
are we done?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, bro. So, anyways, yeah, it was good chatting to everyone over here. Thank you, Brian, Harshit,
Yeah, it's
um,
nice. At
any
least at
everyone
least
who's comment,
doesn't feel like
everyone who
I'm talking
commented.
to myself.
Yeah, bro. So yeah, man, episode 2 of Talkflow is done, man. How to get started
Yeah.
with Webflow. We hope
Do you want
you
to say what's
enjoyed
episode
this.
3 or
Do you know what episode 3 is?
I think we
I'm
do.
not sure.
Uh, how to start making money with Webflow.
Yeah, so next
Yeah,
week at the same time, Monday at 5 p.m., episode 3 is going to be coming out. We're going to be talking about how to make money with Webflow now.
yeah,
A lot of the stuff we mentioned, we didn't go into detail how to use that and monetize it. But next week, that's where we're going to go into detail on how to monetize your Webflow skills and
as
start making some
beginners.
money as
Yeah,
beginners. Yeah, and start
yeah.
making some money, getting your first project and growing it from there. So, yeah, man, it was good chatting to everyone here. I was, really enjoyed it, and we hope to see you guys next week.
Thank you, Brian, actually,
Take care. Thank you,
for
Brian.
watching us for like an hour. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
See you
guys.
next
Take
week.
care, man.
Bye bye.